Today I'm launching the pre-sale for my upcoming course all about the take-home project for iOS developer interviews. Now, as I was making this course, I kind of realized this is the course I wish I had when I was earlier in my career just getting started out. So what I'm going to do in this video is give you a quick course overview and then get into some of the details of the course later on. And like I said, this course is based around a typical project that you would get in one of these take-home interviews. And throughout my career, I've done probably 10 to 15 of these and passed them all. I've also given one as an interviewer to hire a junior iOS developer. So I kind of took all that experience and knowledge and put it into this course. And really the aim of it is if you understand all these concepts, like you have a really good grasp on them after you've done the course, you're ready to be a junior iOS developer. Start applying. But it's not just for those that are, in the job hunt or trying to get that job. At the end of the day, we're building a project together. You're going to see how everything comes together holistically, and we're covering a bunch of different topics. So, you can end up with another portfolio piece or just another batch of code that you can reference for future projects. Now, this course is going to be about 38 videos long, so there's a lot jam-packed in here. So let's talk about what you're actually going to learn in this course. First things first, we're building our UI 100% programmatically. And, I don't have anything against storyboards, but it's just the truth. If you learn how to build your UI programmatically, you're just going to have a better understanding of what's going on. And we're also using no third-party libraries. We're writing everything ourselves. Now, the common thread you'll see in all these take-home projects is you're going to have to do one of the most common iOS developer tasks. And that is, make a network call to an API, retrieve the data, parse the JSON, and display that data in a pretty UI, right? So you're going to have to do that in pretty much every take-home project. So of course, we're going to hit that. So we're going to use Codable to parse our JSON, among some other things. And when you do networking, you open yourself up to a lot, right? You have loading states, memory management and capture lists, right? Weak self, image caching, right? You see all these images. You don't want to be downloading those images every time they come on screen. So we're going to cache those. Pagination of network calls. As you can see, you're scrolling down. When you hit the bottom, we're bringing in the next 100 users, right? And that's very common in apps. Also, there's empty states, right? What happens when somebody doesn't have any followers in this case, right? You got to show that empty state. And then everybody's favorite task, we're going to handle all the errors properly. And we're even going to create a custom reusable alert to show rather than the default one. And we're going to dive into collection views with this course, also with a search controller, so you can search the list of followers. And as you can see on the screen here, things are animating around, moving. That was possible before, of course, but you had to do a lot of batch updates, and it was a little wonky. Now with the diffable data source that Apple released with iOS 13, that makes that a lot easier and much more efficient. So we're definitely going to dive into that new feature. It's kind of like the new way to do collection views. We're also going to touch on project organization and how all this ties together. And I think that might be the most beneficial thing, right? A lot of us out there, we've done one-off tutorials, but seeing how the whole app comes together, all this stuff interacts, I think that is a very valuable thing. Another key skill we're going to touch on is composition and child view controllers and how to kind of build your app in a way that you don't have these massive view controllers. Now, again, we're going to build this 100% programmatic UI. There's no third-party libraries at all. And if you look at this printout here of lines of code in my view controller, you can see the longest view controller is 200 lines of code. And I didn't even go crazy over abstracting things. This is just normal abstraction. Now, admittedly, this isn't the most complex app. I get it. But I know a lot of you out there are struggling, even with simple screens, on having these, 700-line view controller. So I think this is going to be a key skill. And here's an example of it with the user info screen. This top part here with the avatar, the header, the bio, that's its own view controller. These two components below it, those are its own reusable view controllers. And then even within that, see the view that has the SF symbol and this is public repos and then the count, that's a reusable view. So by using child view controllers, these reusable views, this is how we're avoiding the massive view controller. And I think this is a key skill that a lot out there need help with. And now here's more just rapid fire stuff you're going to learn. You're going to learn persistence by adding something to favorites. We're going to create our own custom alert that we're going to show. Of course, we're going to dive into some table views, some swipe to delete action. Also, we're going to dive into dynamic type a little bit. As you saw earlier, we're going to use some SF symbols, UI stack views, date formatters, delegation and protocols, Safari view controller. There's just so much packed into this course. Now that you know what you're going to learn, let's talk about some of the details of this course. And first of all, who is this course for? What is the skill level? It's not for absolute beginners. For example, I'm not going to stop and explain an optional. I'm not going to explain how an array works or how a for loop works, right? So I assume you have a basic understanding. That being said, this is not crazy advanced. I would consider this intermediate. Like I said, the target is for people that are trying to become junior developers, right? They've already done the basics. Now they're trying to make that next step. So it's not crazy advanced. So if you have the basics down, I think this will be very helpful. I mentioned this earlier too, but really at the end of this, you're going to have a portfolio piece. And what I think is also valuable is a code base that you can always go back and reference. I go back and reference old code bases all the time when I'm building features. So this can be very, very helpful for that as well. And a real quick note on just the general learning, ask any developer out there. If you work on 10 different code bases, you're going to see 10 different styles, 10 different paradigms, 10 different like ways of building it, right? So I do not claim that this is the way, the best way, right? This is just one way. And back to like working on a lot of code bases, that is how I developed my style. I worked on one code base, took what I liked from there, took what I like from this code base, took what I like, and I built my own style based on that. So I do want to stress that this is just one way to do things. So take what you like, leave what you don't, and develop your own style as you work on other code bases. So let's answer some questions here, right? Why am I doing 100% programmatic UI? Like I mentioned earlier, I just think you learn more. I think the storyboard can be magic for people that are just learning. When you build it programmatically, you have a better understanding of what's going on. Why is this in UIKit and not Swift UI? Well, Swift UI is a couple years away from being relevant in the job market. And like I said, I was targeting developers that are on the cusp of becoming junior developers, or maybe they're already earlier in their career and they want to like learn right now. Swift UI will have it today for sure. It's going to be a bit. I am requiring iOS 13 in this course, and that is to help future-proof it a little bit. Plus, I wanted to really dive into things like the diffable data source, dark mode, all that stuff. I didn't want to have to do all the like iOS 12 conditionals, iOS 13 conditionals. So this is iOS 13 forward. Why no third-party libraries? Again, kind of the same logic with the programmatic UI. You're just going to learn more. And when you learn how to like write it yourself, things like networking, we're not using Alamo Fire or anything like that, then you can make a better, more informed decision when it comes time to use the library. I'm not saying never use libraries, but if you've written it yourself, you can understand the trade-offs like, oh, I've written that myself before. We don't need to bring in a library. The perfect example in this app, all we're doing is basic GET requests for networking. You don't need to bring in Alamo Fire to do basic GET requests, right? So, but having that knowledge to know that is key. So it also helps when you're turning in these take-home projects, from personal experience. You kind of judge the ones that have 7 third-party libraries in just this small project. It's like, did you even like write anything or just do a library for everything? So it does look better on you the less libraries you use. So I did want to teach it that way. Some quick notes on a typical take-home project that you could do for a job interview. They usually say, hey, take 2 to 4 hours to do this. They try to be respectful of your time. So they don't necessarily expect you to go above and beyond like we're going to do in this course. Like this course is going to take us way longer than 2 to 4 hours to complete. But again, I want to do this for educational purposes. I wanted to teach everything. And then you can kind of decide when you're doing your take-home project, like how above and beyond do you want to go with your time? And then also about this being a portfolio piece, I know when we're building this, you're going to think, oh, it'd be really cool if this app did this, because we're dealing with GitHub and followers and you can do a lot with the API. But it's good. I think this is going to be a very good starting point for you to take this project, build upon it, and build an even better like portfolio piece. Because like I said, I know when we're building this, you're going to be like, man, I wish this app did this. I wish this app did that. Build it. And lastly, let's talk about the early bird special right now. It's currently 40% off during the pre-sale. I expect the full course to be launched mid-January. I'm going to be releasing it in chunks as I complete the videos because I'm in the process of making 38 videos. Like that's a lot. So I'm going to be releasing it chunk by chunk, but by mid-January, the whole thing should be out. And then at that point, the early bird special will be no more. And it is 40% off currently. So check that out. Link is in the description. So if you're interested and you do purchase it, I really hope you enjoy it. I'm proud of it. Like I said, this is the course I wish I would have had earlier in my career, and that's what I tried to set out to make. So hopefully you enjoy it if you choose to buy it, and we'll see you later.